Ladies and gentlemen, next I would like to call upon climate scientist, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Dr. Roxy Matthew Koll, to tell you a little bit about Sir. He's a climate scientist at the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology and is renowned for his groundbreaking contributions to understanding and predicting the Indo-Pacific climate. He has been a lead author for the IPCC reports and former chair of the Indian Ocean Region panel. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, can we welcome Sir on stage with a round of applause?
A very good morning. Good morning. I thank Mumbai First for the invite and for organizing this very important discussion, and all of you for joining this. Let me get straight into the climate story, since it requires urgent attention and Mumbai can't wait. With climate change, the storyline for India's coastline has changed, and along with that, for Mumbai too. We have crossed 1.1 degrees Celsius in global surface temperature change. And all those extreme weather events in terms of cyclones, heavy rains, heat waves that we talked about just now. If you look at the temperature in your Google, you see 33 degrees Celsius for Mumbai, but the feel-like temperature, 42 degrees Celsius. The increase in humidity with that increase in temperature. Warm air holds more moisture. All coastal cities are close to the sea, so there is more moisture. And warm air holds more moisture, so the impact is like a double whammy in terms of high temperatures. Our body can't respond quickly. We have heat strokes and so on. So all these extreme weather events that we see right now is in response to that 1 degree Celsius change. Now, the Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change, that's the IPCC, with a recent report, what it says is that between 2020 and 2040, that's the current decades, we will cross 1.5 degrees Celsius. And this is, mind you, regardless of the pathways we take, regardless of the carbon emissions that the countries have agreed upon. And 2 degrees Celsius between 2040 and 2060. This is also regardless of the carbon pathways countries have agreed upon. Which means that, though in the distant future, we have a pathway to keep the temperatures at a flat rate, the extreme weather events that we see now are going to intensify. Now, this is a question that I get. Are these extreme weather events here to stay? I say yes, but also intensify. If you have this many extreme weather events right now, even as a climate scientist, I can imagine the number and severity of extreme weather events with a doubling of temperatures. It can be exponential. But for Mumbai, the climate change and extreme weather events have already manifested. What IPCC says in terms of compound events. Now, this is a point that I want to make. Extreme weather events such as sea level rise, heavy rains, cyclones and their storm surges, these huge waves that cyclones push with a lot of water into the coastline. They're going to overlap. They're already overlapping for cities like Mumbai. We call them compound events. So Mumbai is a perfect example for other global cities also on what is going to happen in other regions as well. And Mumbai can be the best example on how we respond to these challenges. And the first example, probably, because we have all the challenges over here. Let me show you. So here in this map, we see multiple challenges in terms of extreme weather events. On top, the sea level rise. The current sea level rise for the west coast of India is at 3 millimeter per year or 3 centimeter per decade. Now, this is going to intensify in the near future. The trends are already here to 5 centimeter per decade. On the east coast, it's already 5 centimeter per decade, and it's going to intensify to 7 centimeter per decade. In terms of cyclones, our research shows that in the Arabian Sea is warming at a faster rate compared to other seas. Yeah. So there is more heat, there is more moisture for supporting these weather systems. There is a 50% increase in the number of cyclones in the Arabian Sea. And not only the number, but the duration is also intensifying. And this is projected to increase further in the future. And in terms of extreme rains, you see, there is a threefold rise, not just in the coastline of India, but across central India, from the west coast to east coast, different parts, and in the northeast too. Western Ghats, central India, and northeast. And this is again going to intensify further. Now there is a puzzling thing here. Along with extreme rains, the total amount of rain that we get is going to decrease, which means there could be a water scarcity issues. The problem is that the same warm air holds more moisture for a longer time. So it doesn't rain for a long time, but when it rains, you get a season's or a month's or a week's rain in a few hours to a few days, like cloudbursts. Yeah? That's what is happening. So you can't, that water doesn't spread out in moderate rate and percolate into the groundwater. So water scarcity is another issue. So these kind of issues are amplifying. And heat waves we already talked about. Right. Now, with respect to sea level rise, what does a 3 centimeter per decade mean? If you consider the slope of the land as well, per decade it can be 17 meters of land. This basic trigonometry, 3 centimeter. And you can imagine how much it would be with 5 centimeter per decade. Now, because of this, will Mumbai submerge by 2050? That's one of the questions that I often get. I would say, no, Mumbai won't submerge. But with this compound overlapping of events with heavy rain, storm surges from cyclones and sea level rise, one on top of another, the flooding in the coming years or the coming decades can be prolonged and cover over a large area. That's what we need to address. This is a perfect example of a compound event. So you might have a sea level rise, but huge waves pushing onto our homes. This picture talks volumes. This also shows the unequal scenes. Far ahead, you have the high rises, but down here, you have the water pushing into the houses. And one reason here is that Mumbai is growing as well. Yeah? A lot of domestic migration is happening. This map is from a recent research which shows the domestic migration. From the northern belt, UP and Bihar, where the agriculture is affected by climate change, people are migrating to megacities like Mumbai, Visakhapatnam, Cochin, and so on, Chennai. And there they face new challenges. They don't have a roof. Sorry. They don't have a roof, they don't have a house to stay there. But climate change is not the only culprit here. We change our land, we change our rivers, we change our ecosystems. That also accumulate into the impact. When rivers that are supposed to meander and have floodplains do not have those floodplains for the rainwater to percolate, spread out, and sink in, it will flood the surrounding regions. Compare the top and bottom. So should not always blame climate change. We can have local adaptation measures in terms of that. Now, this shows such a picture. Can you identify the river here? Can you identify the mangroves here? Can you identify the floodplains? This is Mumbai. That line through the middle is supposed to be the Mithi River, exactly. Full points over there. And these blue-colored roofs looks colorful, but when a cyclone or a sea level or a floods hit, we don't know if it is the roofs first or the floor first, which is going to get washed out, right? So that is the challenge we are looking at. And in terms of cyclones, this study shows that regions close to Mumbai have the least adaptive capacity in terms of housing, in terms of the roof type vulnerability and wall type vulnerability. Mumbai is at a high risk. That is what we have to target. And how do we target? And what do we target? Along with climate change and local land use changes, one of the important factor is population. So we talked about the current temperature change, 1 degree Celsius. By the time we are at 2 degrees Celsius, which is not far away, our population will be doubling from 20 million for the larger Mumbai. Our population will be doubling to 40 million. So that is like one Mumbai on top of another Mumbai. We need the infrastructure, we need the housing, we need the roads. Yeah. So if we need to do that, we need to think about the future changes. We need to think about the ecosystem and develop. The IPCC shows multiple ways on how we can work on our coastline. There are multiple ways, accommodating ways. So one of the best suggested solution is accommodation along with ecosystem adaptation. And that's one of the ways that Mumbai can go forward. But here, urbanscaping and architecture is quite an important factor to consider if we want to go forward with ecosystem adaptation. That has to be integrated while that Mumbai expands to that double the population. And we require urgently to involve the community. This is just one example how communities can be involved in terms of monitoring and working on coastal erosion and sea level rise. So you just have a frame to put your camera and take photos, upload it through an app, yeah? And that can show you, like this video, the changing coast side, yeah? I have worked with several community initiatives like this, with schools and educational institutions in terms of monitoring the weather, monitoring rain. Schools are installing rain gauges, and they are growing up with the awareness of how the rain is changing, how the coastline is changing, how the rivers are changing. But this can be scaled up. This needs to be scaled up, community involvement. So the private sector, public sector, scientists, educational institutions, NGOs, we need to work together. Like Pooja said in the beginning, it's not the job of governments alone. We all need to work together on this. And that can help us to build a resilient Mumbai for the future. This is not a picture of Mumbai, but Boston in the US. They have a plan for 2070. Based on future projections of sea level changes, based on future projections of extreme weather events. We need a concrete plan for not just our generation, but for the generations to come. So that by 2070, we know what are the challenges and how can Mumbai expand. By 2070, by 2050 itself, our population will be double. 2070, it might get flattened or it might go up. But we have more challenges to face. And the flood lines and the flood maps and the plains will be totally different. So we need to mark them out and have that ecosystem-based adaptation over here. So the climate is changing, so must Mumbai in terms of sea level rise. We need to redesign the city for sea level rise and floods, cyclonic winds. We need to have sustainable water management. A lot of water comes from the nearby regions, and water scarcity is a big issue there. Like I said, the total amount of rainfall is going down while extreme rains are going up. And we need to work on ecosystem-based adaptation that can help both extreme temperatures, cyclonic winds, and sea level rise and floods. And we have to work together. Thanks a lot. Thank you.